So what is up and welcome back to the Chips or Crisp podcast. Now it's been a few weeks, but we are back on the podcast to talk about football and anything else in between. Today's main topic is going to be Project Restart. Now, this is quite a controversial topic with whether the Premier League should restart or whether it should be held back. We'll kick it off. Just anybody got any opening thoughts on the topic? If not, I'll start open with stuff.
Yeah, you can start.
I'll kick it off then. So, I would say with Project Restart, it's a very touchy subject with the way that it has to be handled, because obviously football is a major aspect of a large proportion of, or a high percentage of the population's morale and everything, so it weighs into all that kind of aspect of stuff where how important it is to certain people and how much of a boost it could bring to certain people to see something like football return. But in the same respect, you've got to consider, and in some situations respect the players when they say we don't want to play, we want to wait until cases are lowering. And obviously things are dipping every single day pretty much in the UK on a week by week basis, but at the same time we're not out of the blue yet. And I think, in my view, some patience needs to be held. When they're saying mid-June we could kick off, I think it's possible, but right this second I'd say we're probably not ready as a country yet.
Yeah, I very much agree with this. I mean, I've heard a lot about the fact that for at least England, you guys will probably be the last to recover from at least this first wave. I don't know if there's going to be another wave or not, but for right now, I think you guys will be one of the last to actually recover. So I just feel like it's a massive risk, unlike countries that have dealt with it maybe a little better, like Germany, for example, who have had the Bundesliga and really haven't had much of an issue with it in the last 2 weeks, which is quite impressive.
Yeah. Again, I think you're both right, to be honest. It seems that things are improving, and obviously I think it was Jurgen Klopp that said football's the most important of the least most important things, and we all want it to come back. Obviously, really, compared to what's going on in the world, it's not as important as that. But still, I just think it should come back when it's fully safe. I mean, obviously we're looking at the Bundesliga and we're seeing how that's working, which is so far so good as it seems. No fans, and no, it's not the same. It's horrible without fans, but it still works, which is what you want. I think if the Premier League just follows that as and when it can, there's no reason why it couldn't just restart. Actually, in the stadiums as well, because there was that whole thing about playing at neutral venues. I don't really understand why they need to do that. I think that's, to be fair, to try and keep crowds away, but I don't know. Maybe what they could do is just like.
It is the fans.
Yeah. I think it could be like muddle up the fixture list or something and don't tell people what it is, because then they won't know whether they're at home or not. I think they could do that. But I don't know. We'll see what happens with that.
I mean,
I've heard I've heard a lot about in recent, I think maybe even just today I've heard about this, but they might go for more of like a World Cup type style where like they kind of are based in like their own little camp, so then they don't really have any exposure to the outside areas, which I feel like could work.
Yeah, I mean, I suppose it could, but it's an interesting one. There's so many different routes they could go down with this, because obviously no one knows really how to deal with it because they've never experienced it. They're just kind of learning off each other. Like, I think the rest of Europe and just all the leagues really could learn from how Germany are doing it and seeing how that works. And like I said, it seems to be working in Germany.
I think another question that has to be asked is it fair on the players? Because one man that's always been very vocal against it is Troy Deeney, and obviously he has I think it's a 5-month-old daughter with slight breathing issues, which is a very, very real point that he's bringing up, that it's not just them that they're affecting, but in the same respect, you could end up locking them away against arguably their will. Would you say you can leave that up to a player's discretion whether they want to come forward and play, or do you think you have to have a hard line in the sand? You need to come and play unless you have a special reason, or everybody's off? Or do you think you can have like a part 50-50, let players decide?
Yeah, I think the second point is probably more of a fair thing. If players don't want to come back, like Kante, he didn't want to come back because he didn't think it was safe, and Dini, like you said, I don't think you can force anyone. I mean, eventually, like obviously, if it's loads of players, that might become an issue. But if it's just the occasional player, even if it's like Kante is important to Chelsea, I don't think you can force them because, like, obviously, it will affect not just them but their family if they were to get anything. So, I just think it's be as fair as you can and just don't force anyone to come back.
I think just the other thing to point out is the fact that I haven't really heard much news about many players protesting in the Bundesliga. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I just haven't seen much of that. But I mean, that's just kind of, you see not really much activity going against the Bundesliga, and then you see a bunch of players start actually speaking out and saying like, hey, I don't really want to deal with this. I have other issues like family members like Troy Deeney. I feel like at that point, maybe just consider just voiding the season at that point. Maybe not even voiding, just like ending the season, and yeah.
That's another one actually. Should they end the season here or go this one whenever it can be finished should be finished? Where do you weigh in on that?
It's kind of just a lose-lose situation here because if you delay the season, you still lose money. I mean, either way, you're losing money if you either just void the season or just wait until later, which I'm not even sure where they would actually start playing because I'm pretty sure UEFA set a deadline for when they could actually start, or at least for some of the leagues. And since the Premier League has quite a lot of matches to go, I don't even think that would work.
Yeah.
I think more of the issue is the lower divisions because, the Premier League has the TV deals. They have all the money. I mean, there's such a massive jump in money when it comes to just promoting to the Premier League in general, just the amount of money you get every single season. But in the Championship, it's a lot different. I mean, most clubs rely on match days and all the ticket sales and all that. It's not really the TV deals that help them the most, and that's really going to hurt them the most. And I don't really know how they're going to deal with that. I don't even know if they can. I think a lot of clubs are just screwed just because of this really, really unfortunate event. But, yeah.
Obviously, lower league teams, that's where it's going to get interesting. Like you say, Premier League teams, basically any top tier can cope pretty much. I mean, even they will get to a point where they probably can't. I mean, probably not too soon, but on these subjects about this season, I just think if it was to get to like July and they still couldn't restart, and another one about starting it at like, I think it's like the 20th of June when they're talking about restarting the Premier League, but say if that couldn't happen, if it was to go beyond that, I think they would have to say just end it there, which would be hot, wouldn't be very nice, but they've got to be logical with this, and they can't just do it, base it all around money and around the season. They've got to be logical with it, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, one interesting, I think would be quite an interesting thing to do next year is what they could do is give themselves a lot of time, say wait till mid-August when the other Premier League season would kick off. We've then got about 10 games to complete, I believe, in the current season, for more like 9 games each in the current season for each team to finish. And then what they could do is they could split it a little bit more, like they split the SPFL, the Scottish Top League. So each team will play each other once over the first 19 games of the season, and then they split the league top to bottom. So top 10 go into one pot, bottom 10 go into another pot, meaning we'd have a 28-game season next year, allowing more time for us to wait now while still being able to fit in this season and next season, all before the Euros. Hopefully everything is gone by next summer and the Euros can go ahead. I mean, that's another interesting thought. How long can things go before people go and decide at some point you just got to live it? That's going to be another way up for a lot of these, or governments in general, to be honest, where they go with that direction.
Mm-hmm. I don't know. I'm not sure if that would work, just because, I don't know. It just doesn't seem like it would.
I think really the biggest issue with this is next season, how they deal with that more than this season, really, because obviously next season, we were saying earlier, like, potentially could play the whole season without fans, which I don't think would be good, because a lot of clubs wouldn't survive, I don't think, particularly lower league clubs. Obviously, you know, they survive more on the tickets and that, rather than just TV stuff and sponsors and that kind of thing. But yeah, I don't really know how that would work. It's going to be interesting how next season pans out. I think this season they can just do it, you know, how it's all been planned. You know, just do it without fans. But I just think it's next season. You know, that's where it's going to get interesting.
I mean, that all comes down to an exit strategy, I think, on where things have to go in the future at some stage, and what they're going to do and what they're going to proceed with certain actions. Obviously, a lot of countries are improving at the moment, and one tournament that will be under fire is European competition, because it's one thing having players travelling up and down the country, it's another thing having players and fans travelling across Europe.
Mm-hmm.
So what we may see is the limitation on that, and another thing we may lose is a lot of clubs, if there were a pre-season, heading off to Asia. That could be very damaging for the sport in the income that the growing infrastructure and support for football over there, not being able to head over there maybe for a year, maybe 2 years, could be very damaging for them. Especially, obviously the major clubs have a lot of money, but some of the smaller ones that benefit from that growing, the growth of the sport may no longer be able to benefit from it. The other thing is what they do with something like FIFA, actually.
Yeah.
Do they delay that, or do they keep that
going? How it
going?
would work, because, like, essentially FIFA every year is just the same game, but, like, they've updated all the leagues and kits and that. Obviously, if it wasn't to get played out, like, they couldn't do that, because they couldn't just release the game with the same leagues and then just... I suppose they could.
I wonder whether they'd give it a try.
I suppose they could just release it and
sure
then update it all when it's finished, but... I don't know.
If anyone wants to give it a go, it'd be EA.
I mean, it'd be even
Jump
more
in and try.
even more of a reskin than ever before if it's just that.
Although, to be fair, it may actually force them to work on the game.
That's true.
That is a fair point.
Yeah.
Because if they can't change any of the teams, and there's nothing new coming,
Change this stuff.
then they have to change the game.
Yeah. Like, improve career mode, for example.
And don't get too vocal.
That'd be fantastic.
I failed to Formula
Because
1.
they couldn't even do anything with Ultimate Team, probably.
No. I mean, they couldn't do, like...
Honestly, at this stage, they can. If this had
They're
happened
just
a
going
few
to
years
create more
ago,
of a dead environment for the game.
that's my big issue with Ultimate. I'm a big fan of Ultimate Team, but I want them to keep it real to an extent. Like, I don't mind the occasional card that has no relevance to real football. Like, I like the Footmas. I don't know how much you follow Ultimate Team, but I like there's a Christmas event and there's a Halloween event. That's quite cool. But then Carnival. I'm sorry, most of your players are European who've never been to Carnival in their life and probably have no care for it other than the fact that it can now give you an opportunity to get more FIFA points. That's what triggers me about Ultimate Team a little bit now, is they just go over the top with it.
I think they already have, to be fair. Like, you see
Exactly.
These,
This year,
like,
especially.
I don't really play Ultimate Team at all. You just see all these, so many designs of cards. Like, I don't even know what they all are. There's that many. And if they were to be forced to actually work on the game and actually try and come up with something different, that would just make it even more confusing in ways. I mean, that's not really an issue, I suppose, but I don't know. I think Ultimate Team, they could still find a way, but I mean,
I think I know how they would do it, actually. If they want to reskin it with no football next year, the thing they'll do is people have been asking them to get rid of chemistry, which to me defies the whole purpose of Ultimate Team.
Yeah,
Well,
what
that's
the
what it
fuck?
was for.
Like, I swear, that's the one thing that I was like, otherwise everyone would pick the same 11 players.
Yeah.
I thought chemistry is like the main thing with Ultimate Team. You've got to make.
That's
You've
what
got to
I've
get the
always
squad as
said.
high rated as you can, or like, you know.
Wait, so what's the argument against chemistry then?
That players can't use any player that they want.
That's fucking stupid.
Exactly. Especially when there's only one play style.
Oh yeah.
If there were multiple play styles that worked, it could happen.
Yeah.
Or it could happen anyway, but it could work. But the fact that there's one meta means that having no chemistry means everybody... I mean, people play this pretty much the same teams anyway, but throw in no chemistry and everyone will literally have the exact same lineup. And it would just...
I don't. Why would you get rid of chemistry? I don't even play Ultimate Team much, but even I know that that's like one of the biggest things with it.
I mean, the Ultimate Team group or people, they tend to make some strange. They call so much. They say we want new cards, more new cards, more new cards,
What the fuck?
and then
No.
they turn around one day and go, "Hang on, we got too many cards. This is EA's fault." It's like literally some of them in that group just I can't be arsed with them. They just make some very
I
strange
tend to
decisions.
avoid FIFA communities at all costs, man.
Got anything more to add on Project Restart? Because we've gone quite off topic.
We've definitely gone off topic.
Yeah, I don't think so.
I don't think so.
Should we take a look at the Bundesliga then to try and fill this out?
Yeah, I guess
But
so.
whilst content's running away, off we got this weekend. Any major game?
Bayer Leverkusen got absolutely destroyed by Wolfsburg. I watched that match.
Was it a good game?
It was good for Wolfsburg.
That's one way to put it.
Arnold was absolutely fantastic. I think 2 set pieces resulted in a goal there for him. Actually, it was 4-1. That was the score.
No, that's the score up there.
Baumgartlinger scored. Now, I watched that match, and then also me and my friends were kind of doing like a Discord watch party, and we noticed that Freiburg and Frankfurt were tied. I think it was like 3-3, and Frankfurt had come back after being down 3-1 in the first, I believe, 75 minutes, which was pretty incredible. So we just switched the streams to that, and that was a lot more intense.
Jesus Christ. I've just got the stats up on this game actually. Fucking
Yeah, 30 shots or something like that.
34 shots.
Jesus, yeah.
14 fouled, 63%. That is a
2 head
batter.
injuries within the last 10 minutes of the game.
Wow, what a game that was! I saw the highlights of that. But...
44 shot. That's a shot every 2 minutes of the match. Who is in this midfield? Were they even, or is it just Harry Maguire long balls for the whole match?
I mean,
That could be the only logic behind it. Gee, that's a name from the past. Jonathan de Guzman. That's a name
Oh,
from the
yeah.
past.
He used to play for Carpi.
He used to play for Swansea. I remember him at Swansea.
Oh, yeah,
him
I
and
remember
Michu.
He used to play
yeah, I
everywhere.
remember him.
Oh, he's got a really weird backstory. He's like the Dutchman that's got like a Caribbean father from one country,
Yeah.
something from another country. He's got like 50 countries relations. That's really weird. Now, in terms of big fixtures next week, I mean, what have we got? We've got Freiburg Leverkusen, the first game coming up. I mean, they've both got battered of sorts at the weekend, or on the previous set of games. Any input there? What are we thinking?
Leverkusen are just very inconsistent. I've watched them the last 2 times. They really did well against Mönchengladbach. I think it was like 3-1 or something like that. And then, I don't know what the hell happened. They just completely collapsed against Wolfsburg.
It's just football, isn't it? Like, Leverkusen is one of those teams.
Yeah.
Like they go from being like consistently top 4 to being nowhere near it. And I think an example of that in Germany is Schalke. Like they went from
I was thinking, yeah.
Oh
they went,
god,
they went
Schalke
from
are fucked right now.
second to being in a relegation battle literally the whole of last season. And I know they're not doing unbelievable this season, but they're kind of back up there again. Like that just is so weird.
They've conceded, I believe, 7 goals in their first 2 matches back.
They lost 3-0 and 4-0.
That's
It's
not
not a
good.
great start.
What
And then
a
I guess
shout
Dortmund versus Bayern.
That was a big game.
That was a good match, I'd say. I think it kind of bogged down a bit in the second half for some reason. It just seemed like Dortmund changed their play style. Because in the first half, they were just really going at Bayern. I mean, the pressing was insane. There were a lot of chances for them. And then also there was the penalty that should have been a penalty. But then after Bayern scored, it just kind of felt like just a stalemate at that point.
Yeah.
Jesus.
And then Haaland actually got injured, so then he was subbed off for Gio Reyna. And Dortmund, for some reason, just didn't have another striker on the bench. I'm not sure if they have another striker, to be honest. But
because they sold
that
Paco, didn't
work
they?
out at all. Yeah, they sold Paco. But I was hoping they'd have someone else at least on the bench, because you can sub more than 3 people on now. But no, I think they had Thorgan Hazard at the striker position, and that definitely did not work out for them.
Thorgan gets a lot of shit to be fair. I don't think he's that bad, Thorgan. Just because he's the worst younger brother. I'm looking at Schalke though. Last 3 seasons, they've gone from 10th to 2nd to 14th. That is mental. And their top scorer was their right back.
Jesus.
And Cagliari. Yeah, Cagliari is such a solid player. I swear he's Italian. Caligari.
Yeah. No, I remember
changed
watching him against
nationality?
Dortmund. Wait, what?
I swear to God, Caligari has been Italian.
Yeah, I thought he was.
It says he was German. Oh, he's German, but he plays for Italy.
Oh.
That's strange. Or he's never actually played, but if he did.
Yeah,
No, I
being
heard a lot of
Schalke
people-
fan must be absolutely
Keeps you up at night.
abysmal.
I don't know, you get the highs. Just some very low.
They beat Dortmund didn't
Yeah.
they, last season away, so
I believe
Look.
so, yeah.
That's another big. Ooh,
I think it was like 4.
that's another big derby.
I mean, no matter what, usually those matches are quite fun to watch. Just this one wasn't the case at all.
Just battering the Schalke, wasn't it? Dortmund 4-0.
It was kind of weird because Schalke actually had most of the possession, I
Yeah.
think. And they would just make a mistake right around their defense, and Dortmund would just easily score 4 goals. It was basically just that 4 times, and that's how they won. No, I think it's over.
That Bayern loss just killed it for them. That it was.
I think just like Bayern does this thing, like I've noticed this. Like they try to, increase their optimism that they'll actually be another champion for once. And then midway through the season, it looks like the same. And then coming closer to the end of the season, then Bayern just start actually trying or something. And then they end up winning the league. Yeah, it just seems like a pattern.
I'd love Dortmund to win it one day, or Leipzig, or just anyone, because it's just he's someone else.
I think Leipzig will win it soon.
Don't say that to the Germans.
Not Leipzig.
Oh yeah, good point.
Dortmund, yeah.
I mean, the big one for Bayern is going to be replacing Neuer. Because he's, 34 now?
Well, I think he signed a new contract.
Yeah, but how long can he go on for before
Can't be
his
much
abilities hit the
I'm
cliff?
not sure. He did get megged by Holland, but thanks to Boateng being on the line, there was no goal there. That was like in the first 30 seconds. I still think he's a pretty solid option. Alexander Nubel, from what I've heard, is very good
I've
as
heard
well.
little good things about him, actually. Have they got him, or
Yeah, they have
Are you
him.
out on
He's
loan?
coming next season.
Is it Schalke, isn't it?
No, he's just Schalke bought him, or not Schalke. Bayern bought him from Schalke, and he's just gonna go over there after the season's over.
I mean, the one player that or the 2 players that we're floating about a little bit, firstly Coutinho, who God knows where he's going to go, because he's not going to get in the Barca team anytime soon, with the way they're setting up their midfield. But I can't see where he would go, because he can't head back to Liverpool.
I could see him going to someone like an Inter or someone like that. Just like
That's a good shout, actually.
a good team, but not like, a team that's going to win the league every single season. Just like a Champions League side, like Inter. I think that would suit him, to be fair.
Yeah.
I feel about that. Oh, wait, no, he used to play for Inter, didn't he? I think.
He
Remember?
did.
Yeah.
Yeah, he used to play for Inter. I think it would be a pretty good option, to be honest. I mean, you've seen Eriksson move there, Lukaku's
make
there.
it
I mean, there's a
difficult,
lot of good
actually.
players that he can link up with.
That would be a good move.
Fair, Ericsson and Coutinho as a midfield would be great.
That would
He's
be
good.
insane. No, I mean, like, Inter, you say that they're just like a Champions League side. I would kind of say that, at least this season, Inter looked very close to actually, winning the league
know,
at
but, like-
times. But now they just kind of fell off right around the end, so now it's just Juventus and Lazio.
Yeah.
But, I mean, Inter is still very much in there if anything happens.
'cause what I meant by that is, like, obviously, Juve win it every year, and not Dortmund, Inter are, like, always in the top 4, more or less. But they're still
Yeah.
a very good team, obviously. They've got a really good side, Inter, and I think someone like Coutinho I mean, could they afford him though? That's the thing, because like
I think you could get him at a cut price.
And I know, like, back when he was at Liverpool, he was worth a lot more, and he's going to be down now. But still, I think Ingeton could afford him. It would be a good get, to be fair. But we'll see what happens with that.
Yeah.
Looking at transfer market, he's currently valued at 50 million, which isn't always bloody. He's halved in value.
Well, I mean, Ericsson was probably worth quite a bit as well, and I'm pretty sure like his fee to Inter was like maybe 20 million or something like that.
Because he was out of contract.
Yeah.
I mean, Ericsson's still valued fairly well. He's at £76 million value.
Oh Jesus!
It was from what it was even higher a few years back. Third ranked attacker midfielder, not bad. Second most valuable Serie A player. Who's ahead of him? Donnarumma? No, Dybala. That makes sense. I mean, some that values obviously drop off hugely when you get to age. Somehow Ronaldo is still over 50 million, which is crazy. Despite, I suppose his name brings in so much money. What it comes down to.
He's also been really.
Of
good.
course, he does that too. Yeah. that helps. At least that's something to look to. Bundesliga might have a relegation battle and give us something to pray on for the next few weeks until Bremen are going down. Will be a big one. They've been in the league for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
Frankfurt at the bottom as well is a strange one after their recent performances.
Oh, that's actually really.
That's I suppose didn't they lose all of their front three in one full sweep?
They very much did. They lost Aller and Jovic.
And Rebic. All in one.
Yeah, that just to say about.
I think one of their best players is now Kostic. I'm pretty sure.
He's pretty good.
About Frankfurt,
yeah,
like they've gone from being like fighting for Europe. I think they got to like they lost to Chelsea, didn't they, in the semi-finals?
Yeah, they got
the
to
Europa
the semi-finals,
League, and now they're like struggling down the bottom end. It's just crazy that.
I mean, the same thing kind of happened to Wolfsburg at one point.
Yeah.
Like Wolfsburg actually went down to the relegation playoff. Like they played an actual playoff.
Oh yeah, I remember that. Yeah, because they were in the Champions League.
And like years prior, they were like top 4, top 5.
I don't remember that. Like the season before, I think they beat Real Madrid in the Champions League, and then they.
And then Ronaldo just killed all their hopes and dreams.
Yeah, that's just classic football, though, isn't it?
Do you think it's a credit or a disservice to the league, though, to see them having a team having high highs and low lows? Do you think that's a good thing or a bad thing in terms of looking at the league?
I mean,
I think it just comes down to the situation that they've brought themselves into. Like, for example, Frankfurt, they've sold like 3 of their best players in one transfer window. I mean, that's definitely going to affect the squad quite a bit and just how they perform in general.
Especially when it's all your forwards.
And then Wolfsburg, I think also, I can't be for sure, but I think they might have sold De Bruyne and then things kind of fell off. I can't remember if they had still a pretty decent season after that or not.
Nothing springs to mind. They've always been an up and down team. They can never hold it together in a season to season basis. I mean, De Bruyne, I don't want to go over that mistake again, but
imagine if we still had him.
Yeah, you guys could have had him.
We could have had him. We could have had Mo Salah as well, and Lukaku. One or two spring to mind.
It's okay. We almost signed Ronaldo.
Yeah. If Wenger had the team that he said he'd signed, it would have been quite something. Now, have we got any more to add, or anything football related? I think we're running low because of.
Have we done all the fixtures?
If you want to whack out a couple of predictions,
are we even doing that? I don't even know whether we've done that or not.
I mean,
I'll give it a go.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, I've gone. We've got Freiburg Leverkusen.
Still going on right now.
I'll probably just say.
I feel like I want to say Leverkusen wins this one just because Freiburg and I don't know. I just feel like Leverkusen, after such a terrible defeat, would go back to what they did right against Mönchengladbach and maybe just replicate that.
Yeah.
But maybe it's just like a downfall from here. Who knows?
I'm gonna say two. I'll take 2-0 to Leverkusen. I'll back them.
Yeah.
I reckon 2-1. Because I think, like you said, Leverkusen could bounce back. Freiburg have had quite a good start though. I think they drew with Leipzig, Frankfurt. I think they won the other games, so they've actually done quite well. It'd be a tight one.
I mean, they're also 7th in the table as well.
They've had a good start. I just think I know more about Leverkusen, so I'll go for them.
I reckon this is all coming in with fairly minimal knowledge.
Yeah, we're not as good as this in the Premier League, are we? So.
Hoffenheim and Mainz. Any shouts? I'll back.
All right, so Hoffenheim.
I think I'm just going to say winners, not.
Mainz have conceded.
I'll
quite
just
a
say
bit.
Hoffenheim because I just know that they're kind of good in Germany.
I mean, Leipzig destroyed Mainz, and I remember watching
5-0,
that
yeah.
defense of Mainz's, and it was abysmal.
Mainz are the highest conceding team in the league. 61 and 28
it
games.
felt like I was watching an MLS defense.
Yeah, I'll back a Hoffenheim win. Schalke and Bremen. My money's on Schalke.
Schalke have to win that, I think, because
I think, yeah, Schalke have to. I mean, Werder Bremen have scored the least amount of goals, I'm pretty sure, as well.
Yeah.
As they've conceded a good amount of goals as well. So I think Schalke gets this one. I think
they've had a
bounce
bad
back.
run.
It's fair, they've lost 4 of their last 5 games.
And they're actually
Yeah.
playing
Pretty
right
shocking.
now. They're playing Dusseldorf, and they
Are
could
they?
even, they could win that. They're away though, but I think Werder Bremen, that is a winnable game for them, and I think they need to win that if they want to try and get like the Europa League at least, because they need to get Europe. Schalke.
I can't see it. There's a big gap from the top 5 to the rest of the league.
To be fair, I've not even looked at the table properly. I just know that like
I got the table. That's what's helping me.
I know that they're 8th, but I didn't even know what the gap was. To be fair, there's a bit of a gap.
The top 5 have an 11-point lead, so it's between that set to see who can get Champions League.
Yeah.
With probably Leverkusen or Gladbach missing out. Any other interest? Wolfsburg and Frankfurt, 2 teams we've brought up today.
I feel like that would be a pretty good match to watch. I think I might want to give this one to Wolfsburg, to be honest, because after that win, I feel like the momentum will definitely be on their side.
David, you...
Yeah, I think Wolfsburg, because Wolfsburg have actually done pretty good so far. Like you said, beat Leverkusen. Frankfurt seems to be quite inconsistent, so I'll just go for a Wolfsburg win for that one.
I think I'll back Frankfurt just because I quite like them as a team and just so I can have a bit of differentiation in this, especially with the next game.
Yeah.
Bayern and Düsseldorf.
Well, it's obviously going to be Bayern. So.
I can only see that one going one way.
Maybe Dusseldorf can bring something to the
I mean,
table.
they wear Dusseldorf. They're like they're 16th. They're in the relegation zone. Imagine if they were to win that, actually make it a bit more competitive in the title race, but
Can't see that. If Watford beat Liverpool.
true. Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if Bayern or...
I'd say Liverpool are a better team than Bayern, to be fair, actually.
I reckon a 1-0 win for Dusseldorf. How about that?
Definitely.
Imagine that. Doing a Burnley there to do that.
Oh, nice bit of shithousen. Who is it that everyone's describing as the shithouse, the Bundesliga? I can't remember.
Is it Freiburg? I think it's
I
Freiburg.
think it might have been Freiburg.
Probably Freiburg.
We've got Gladbach and Union Berlin, 2 more games left.
Definitely.
Gladbach,
Gladbach
yeah.
on
They're
this
doing
one.
good.
I'd back that. And then final the game of the day, we've got Paderborn versus Borussia Dortmund.
I mean, like, you know...
I mean, Paderborn have only won 4 games this season, so I think my money's going to be on Dortmund for this last one.
Yeah, I'm going to have to say Dortmund for this one, too.
Isn't they? Is that it? I think we've done them all.
Oh, wait, there's one more heading with Cologne and Leipzig.
Leipzig.
Leipzig have been kind of struggling a bit. They nearly lost against Freiburg, but thanks to VAR, the goal was taken away. They just drew against Hertha Berlin, so there's also that. Cologne have come off of 2 results where they have seen themselves give up a 2-0 lead and also come back from a 2-0 defeat. So, I mean, it's going to be interesting. I think Leipzig wins this one, but I think it's a pretty close one just because of Leipzig's recent just struggles.
Yeah, I agree with that. Cologne. I don't know. I think they're like mid-table or something. They're 11th. And Leipzig are a good team. They've got a lot of very good players, and I don't really see it going any other way. To be fair, I mean, like you said, they only just managed to get something out of that Freiburg game. They were lucky, and then they battered Mainz. Mm-hmm. But I don't really see anything else other than Leipzig winning that one.
That's fair.
No, I think I agree. So I think that's probably everything football related at the moment, because someone needs to play a game before we run out of content. But I hope everybody has enjoyed the podcast. Make sure you do go and subscribe to the other two guys. And I think that'll do it. We'll see you next time.
Yeah. See ya.